Well, I guess this was inevitable. I've thought about Undertale a lot. I've played Undertale a lot. I've explored every timeline, seen every secret this world has to offer. Within this world, I've experienced heartbreak, happiness, fear, betrayal, pity, companionship, love, determination. I've learned how each character talks, how each character thinks, how it all functions, with one exception. No matter how much I searched, no matter how hard I tried, no matter what I gave, there was always one last, incredibly annoying obstacle that would get in my way. Do I have to talk about him? Hey, you've been busy, huh? So, I've got a question for you. Do you think even a worse person can change? That everybody can be a good person if they just try? Alright. Well, here's a better question. Do you want to have a bad time? Because if you take another step forward, you are really not going to like what happens next. Well, sorry, old lady. This is why I never make promises. It's a beautiful day outside. Birds are singing, flowers are blooming. On days like these, kids like you. Huh. Always wondered why people never use their strongest attack first. Our report showed a massive anomaly in the time-space continuum. Timelines jumping left and right, stopping and starting, until suddenly, everything ends. That's your fault, isn't it? You can't understand how this feels, knowing that one day, without any warning, it's all going to be reset. Look, I gave up trying to go back a long time ago, and getting to the surface doesn't really appeal anymore, either. Because even if we do, we'll just end up right back here without any memory of it, right? To be blunt, it makes it kinda hard to give it my all. Or is that just a poor excuse for being lazy? Hell if I know. All I know is, seeing what comes next, I can't afford not to care anymore. Ugh, that being said, you, really like swinging that thing around, huh? Listen, I know you didn't answer me before, but somewhere in there, I can feel it. There's a glimmer of a good person inside of you. The memory of someone who once wanted to do the right thing. Someone who, in another time, might have even been a friend? Come on, buddy. Do you remember me? Please, if you're listening, let's forget all this, okay? Just lay down your weapon and, well, my job will be a lot easier. I wanted to start off by going over this dialogue because I believe it is crucial to understanding Sans' character. Sans keeps secrets. He has a lot to hide.
Huh? My brother? Of course he has a telescope. Sans loves outer spacey sci-fi stuff. He never told you? Yeah, Sans never tells anybody anything.
So it's very rare to see him express what he's truly feeling. In the genocide route, however, Sans quite literally has nothing left to lose. There's no reason for him to hide anything anymore, and so we can take everything he says here at face value. So with that in mind, let's look back at what Sans says and see what we can establish about the character. First of all, Sans is aware of resets. Now let me clarify, I don't think Sans actually remembers resets. This was a popular belief when Undertale first came out, that mainly started because Sans can keep track of how many times he's killed you. However, when you've played this game for long enough, all the characters paint a different story. After doing a normal reset, all characters seem to experience a feeling of deja vu. Sans in particular seems to be actively piecing together what's happening as you go through the game. He notices you turn around before he tells you to, or that you solve a puzzle just a little too quickly. Throughout the neutral runs, he'll even take note of your expression and use that to determine if you've died in that timeline before, or if the two of you have already had a conversation.
Huh? You look bored. Yeah. I get the feeling you aren't gonna learn anything from this. Yeah. Well, guess I gotta judge you then. Over level 9, huh? That's over halfway to level 20, the maximum. But I don't think that means you're still 50% good. 50%, 20%, those are both still failing grades. Besides, chances are, I've already tried to steer you in the right direction. So what can I say? What can I say that will change the mind of a being like you? Absolutely nothing.
A lot of people, myself included, used to think that Sans kept track of your deaths because he could somehow remember, but I quite literally think that he's just so intelligent that he can just tell from looking at your expression. There is no one more qualified in the Underground to act the role of judge. But that aside, even if Sans doesn't actually remember the resets, he is still definitely aware that they are happening. In his own words, he apparently has reports of a massive anomaly in the time-space continuum. And as I type this script, I immediately realize I now have to go over another popular belief within the fandom. This is exactly why I didn't want to talk about Sans. So a lot of people interpret this anomaly as being the player. While that is possible, I think it's a bit of a silly conclusion to jump to when you consider all the circumstances. You've got a child who can manipulate time, and also unexplainably brought another child back to life, and said child can also become strong enough to just break the fourth wall and erase the entire world. Check out my Kara video if you want to see me go into more detail about that. Anyways, the point is, everything about this human is anomalous. There's no reason to assume that Sans isn't just talking about the child god who's been abusing their power to erase the entire universe. So, where were we? Oh right, so Sans is aware of resets, and in his own words he says that reports showed a massive anomaly in the time-space continuum. This is something that I always found strange, because typically when Sans picks up on something related to the resets, he seems to just kinda wing it, and reacts to your facial expressions accordingly. He might also have some things planned, like his aggravatingly stupid passwords, but reports? Does he just have a machine that can read the timeline? He also says in regards to reports that timelines jump left and right until suddenly everything ends. So is this machine literally telling him about the ending to the genocide route? 2 lines of dialogue and I already feel like I have about 50 new questions. Stupid trash bag. So, you can now start to get an idea of how this character could feel mentally taxing to me, especially after having these same thoughts running through my head for years.
So something else interesting about Toriel's character. Oh, it's a fun event. Hey, is your refrigerator running? Yeah. Nice. I'll be over to deposit the brewskis. Oh god, Sans is coming to my house.
Back in the good old days, I decided it probably wasn't worth wasting all this time thinking about this walking brain aneurysm, and that I could instead dedicate my time to thinking about, you know, someone actually worthwhile. Unfortunately, however, I'm now making this video. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to go over every little detail I know about the annoying smelly skeleton. Whenever I come across something that just doesn't make sense, I'm just going to say, don't worry about it, and move on. So, how exactly does Sans have reports on the timeline? Don't worry about it. All that matters is we know to some extent, Sans is painfully aware of his situation. Sans then says that he gave up on trying to go back a long time ago, and getting to the surface doesn't really appeal anymore either. Keyword, either. Wherever Sans gave up on trying to go, it's not the surface. Now, at first I assumed that I might be talking about the true pacifist timeline, since as I explained before, a lot of people thought that Sans could just remember somehow. But now that he's talking about using reports, that would just be like double dipping. Although I bet the gluttonous freak triple dips his food. If he can't remember the other timelines, it seems a bit strange for him to describe it as going back. Can you really go back to something you've never even experienced yourself? So where or what was Sans trying to go back to? Don't worry about it. Yeah, seriously, just don't worry about it. There's no possible way we could know what Sans is referring to. Moving on, Sans then goes on to say that this knowledge, this awareness of the nature of his existence, makes it kind of hard to give it his all. Yeah, that's putting it lightly. However, this shows us how Sans genuinely feels about his position. Sans always comes off as lazy because he's laid back. He doesn't care about doing work because he just wants to have a good time. That's how everyone around him sees him, and that's how Sans chooses to present himself. But nothing could be further from the truth. Sans doesn't put any effort into his life, because to him it is completely meaningless. Any effort he puts into anything could be undone in an instant, so why even bother? You killed a few people? Well, I guess you shouldn't have done that, but it's not like it really matters. You killed my closest friend? Ah, well, at least I still have my brother. You killed him? I wish there was something I could do about it, but there isn't. Go to hell. Sans is truly the saddest, most cynical person in the entire underground. How pathetic. The truth is, no matter how hard he tries to run from it, is that he does care. That's what's causing his mental torment. Sans wishes he didn't care, so he builds a weak barrier around himself made out of worthless jokes and hijinks, trapping himself alone where no one else can get in. All he can do is wallow in his own misery, until something comes along and shatters his fragile protection. To be blunt, it makes it kinda hard to give it my all. Or is that just a poor excuse for being lazy? Hell if I know. All I know is, seeing what comes next, I can't afford not to care anymore. Kara is the polar opposite of Sans in every way. One acts as an unstoppable force, while the other acts as an immovable object. One is determined to see their goal through to the end, while the other gave up a long time ago. One is determined to pursue their own personal freedom, while the other is content trapping themselves within a wall of cynicism and secrets. This fight was over before it even began. Hey, line up, bucko. I'm just joking with you. Besides, haven't I done a great job protecting you? I mean, look at yourself. You haven't died a single time. That's right, isn't it? Well, chalk it up to my great skills. Heh. So, we now have a decent understanding of the essence that makes up Sans. 1. He is aware of resets and possesses a great deal of intelligence regarding them. 2. There was a time he wanted to go back somewhere else, but he gave up on that. 3. To avoid confronting the reality of his situation, he buries his emotions and his past and attempts to act like nothing really matters to him. However, that act completely falls apart once he confronts us at the end of the genocide route. Although, there are a few other times where Sans' facade seems to drop, even if it's only for a moment. The first time this can occur seems to be in Grillby's, when Sans asks what you think of his brother. If you answer that you think his brother is uncool, he says this.
So, what do you think of my brother? Lame. Hey, pal. Sarcasm isn't funny, okay? I think it's funny. I think you have a trash sense of humor. My brother's a real star. He's the person who pushed me to get this Sentry job. Maybe it's a little strange, but sometimes it's nice to have someone call you out on being lazy. Even though nothing could be further from the truth. Sure. Keep telling yourself that.
As I went over, Sans typically doesn't care about putting effort into anything. For him, there's no point in trying, or at least that's what he tells himself, but Papyrus manages to bring his brother out of his shell, if only a little bit. Sans has no interest in the Royal Guard, and he has no interest in capturing humans. In fact, Sans seems to harbor far, far darker desires. Let's look at the second time Sans' genuine emotions show outside of the genocide route.
Hey, I heard you're going to the core.
Wait, as I rewatched this footage, I just realized it's really weird that Sans just knows we're going to the core. Well, actually, I guess it's not that weird since that's where the elevator to the King's Castle is, but he said that he heard we're going there? Alphys was the one who told us we should head over there on a phone call. For Sans to hear about that, either Alphys would have had to be the one to tell him, or he had to have somehow eavesdropped on the call, which he could probably do. Both options seem likely, but I find this especially interesting since there are some interesting implications about Alphys and Sans that we'll go into later. Anyways, I literally just came to this realization while I was still in the process of making this video, so I'll just get back to the scene and we'll come back to this topic later.
How about grabbing some dinner with me first?
Yeah, I could use a break.
Great, thanks for treating me. Over here, I know a shortcut.
Always worth it to listen to It's Raining Somewhere Else. Well, here we are. So, your journey's almost over, huh? You must really want to go home. That is my objective. Hey, I know the feeling, buddo. Though, maybe sometimes it's better to take what's given to you. Down here you've already got food, drink, friends, so what you have to do, really worth it? Asked too late. Forget it. I'm ruined for you, kid. Hey, let me tell you a story. So I'm a sentry in Stone Forest, right? I sit out there and watch for humans, it's kinda boring. Fortunately, deep in the forest, there's this huge locked door. And it's perfect for practicing knock-knock jokes. So one day I'm knocking him out like usual. I knock on door and say knock knock. And suddenly, from the other side, I hear a woman's voice. Who is there? So naturally I respond. Dishes. Dishes who? Dishes a very bad joke. Then she just howls with laughter, like it's the best joke she's heard in 100 years. So I keep him coming and she keeps laughing. She's the best audience I've ever had. Then after a dozen of them, she knocks and says, knock knock. I say, who's there? Old lady. Old lady who? Oh, I did not know you could yodel. Wow. Needless to say, this woman was extremely good. We kept telling each other jokes for hours. Eventually, I had to leave. Papyrus gets kinda cranky without his bedtime story. But she told me to come by again, and so I did. Then I did again, and again. It's a thing now. Telling bad jokes through the door. It rules. One day, though, I noticed she wasn't laughing very much. I asked her what was up. Then she told me something strange. If a human ever comes through this door, could you please promise something? Watch over them and protect them, will you not? Now I hate making promises. And this woman, I don't even know her name. But someone who sincerely likes bad jokes has an integrity you can't say no to. Do you get what I'm saying? That promise I made to her. You know what would have happened if she hadn't said anything? Buddy. This line right here is something I've always found so fascinating because there are so many implications. Why the hostility? Why even in pacifist timelines does Sans want us dead? Is it as simple as he recognizes us as the anomaly? But if he knows that, shouldn't he be aware that there will be no point in trying to kill us? Does he have something against humans in particular? I kinda doubt that. Perhaps we remind him of something. Something that he hates with a passion. Furthermore, why is it that Sans snapped here in the first place? Typically, the only time that happens is when you kill his brother. Why did talking about Toriel lead to this outburst? Actually, no, go back even further. Why did he even open up to us about Toriel? When the conversation started, he was talking about wanting to go home. How does the topic of wanting to return home connect with Toriel? Why does Sans make this promise to Toriel when he clearly doesn't want to? Why can't he say no to this woman whose name he doesn't even know? Don't worry about it. Finally, there are 2 more times where Sans seems to lose his cool. I'll just play both scenes back to back because he's basically snapping over the same thing. All that's important is that you were honest with yourself. What happens now, we leave up to you. Though, one thing about you always struck me as kind of odd. Really? Now, I understand acting in self-defense. You were thrown into those situations against your will. But sometimes, you act like you know what's gonna happen. Like you've already experienced it all before. This is an odd thing to say, but if you have some sort of special power, isn't it your responsibility to do the right thing? Well, I suppose that logic does make sense. Ah, I see. Hey, is anyone there? Well, I'll just leave a message. It's been a while, huh? Things have gotten pretty bad here. Everyone's considered a leader disappeared all night. It's gotten so quiet. There's a bad feeling hanging over everyone. Like everyone's just going to die here, trapped in the dark. I bet you're wondering why I'm not the ruler. I'm not cut out for something like that. I like to take it easy, you know? That's a joke. This is what happens when people like me take it easy. Hey, at least things are less crowded. 'Cause of all the people you killed. Hope that was a good experience for you.
Just kidding. I don't really hope that. Go to hell.
Sans clearly cares a lot about his brother. He was the only one who could push Sans to get an actual job after all. So when he dies, Sans is understandably upset about it. Also, in this ending we learn something else important about Sans: his sense of responsibility. As I stated, it's not that Sans doesn't care, he just wishes he didn't. Sans is aware of the knowledge and power he possesses. Because of that, he takes it upon himself to keep tabs on us, and tries his best to steer us on the right path. He doesn't see a reason he should care about anything, and yet he does everything in his power to avoid erasure, simply because he feels it's his responsibility to do so. Those pesky emotions just keep weighing you down, huh? This brings us to the last, and one of the most interesting aspects of Sans's character. A connection to something dark, darker, yet darker. Something many of us still struggle to understand to this very day. Quantum physics. In Sans's house you can find a joke book. However, when you open it, you will find a quantum physics book. When you open it, you will then find another joke book. This cycle seems to repeat itself indefinitely. A quantum physics joke. How hilarious. However, I also think this is a hint at the true nature behind Sans's knowledge and his abilities. Also, there's a time that Papyrus literally describes Sans as messing with space-time, but I just wanted to go over a joke book because quantum physics is a bit more specific. Let me tell you, I've done a great deal of research into the nature of quantum physics for this video. I must have skimmed over at least half a dozen articles on the internet, so I'm practically now an expert in the field, and everything I have to say on this subject should be considered factually correct. Quantum physics study the particles that make up our own universe. One of these particles are photons, which is what light is made of. Lasers are concentrated beams of light. One of Sans's primary attacks fire lasers. Boom, quantum physics confirmed. Furthermore, if Sans has this deep understanding of the elements and variables that make up his own universe, that would help explain how he became aware of the concept of the resets. This can also explain his own powerful abilities. Sans was born with one attack and one defense, but he has learned how to manipulate the very laws of his universe. Sans doesn't combat us with innate powerful magical abilities. He enhances himself with science, and bends all of space-time to his will. Well, at least all of space anyways. Understanding that Sans seems to actually delve more into the realm of science fiction than in straight-up magic is important, because it gives us insight into another character. A genius who harbors dangerous obsessions and incredibly dark secrets. I am of course referring to Dr. Alphys. At the end of the True Pacifist timeline, you are granted one final opportunity to talk to your friends before you leave the underground. For the most part, all of the dialogue and interactions seem relatively harmless and normal. Well, whatever counts as normal with this band of idiots. Anyways, there is of course one interaction here that stands out a bit, and that interaction is between Sans and Alphys. I sure am excited to finally use the human internet. I bet they have all sorts of things Undyne and I can watch. Oh man, we're gonna be able to watch anime illegally? Of course, Undyne. What do you think we've been fighting for all along? Yeah, what do you... Whoops. Jinx! I knew you were gonna make that joke. Wait, Alphys, I didn't know you knew Sans. Well, Doesn't everybody? Who the hell is Sans? Who the heck is Sans? Toriel! Alphys shows that she seems to know Sans very well. In fact, this is one of the only times we really see Alphys act this confident when interacting with another person. Papyrus also seems surprised by this interaction, showing that even to him this is unusual. But Sans just plays it off as a joke. Nice try, comedian. It is certainly not a coincidence that the two characters in the entire game, with a focus on science over magic, know each other. Sans and Alphys were working on something together, but what? What could Sans possibly care about enough to go out of his way to actually seek help from another person? With everything we've gone over, his sense of nihilism, the secrets he hides, and his own belief in personal responsibility, reaching out just feels out of character. Until you remember one thing. Sans tried to go back. Once again in the True Pacifist timeline, there's a very interesting interaction with Sans that can be found near the end of the run. Sans is good at looking out for signs of resets, and we can use this to our advantage. After being judged, if you quit without saving, you can reload to before the judgment ever happened. Doing so multiple times will result in these exchanges.
So you finally made it. The end of your journey is at hand. In a few moments you will meet the king. Together, you will determine the future of this world. That's then. Now, you will be judged. You will be judged for your every action. You will be judged for every EXP you've earned. What's EXP? It's an acronym. It stands for execution points, a way of quantifying the pain you have inflicted on others. When you kill someone, your EXP increases. When you have enough EXP, your love increases. Love, too, is an acronym. It stands for level of violence, a way of measuring someone's capacity to hurt. The more you kill, the easier it becomes to distance yourself. The more you distance yourself, the less you will hurt. The more easily you will bring yourself that hurt others. But you never gained any love. Of course, that doesn't mean you're completely innocent or naive, just that you kept a certain tenderness in your heart. No matter the struggles or hardships you face, you strive to do the right thing. You refuse to hurt anyone. Even when you ran away, you did it with a smile. You never gained love, but you gained love. Does that make sense? Maybe not. Now, you're about to face the greatest challenge of your entire journey. Your actions here will determine the fate of the entire world. If you refuse to fight, Asgore will take your soul and destroy humanity. But if you kill Asgore and go home, monsters will remain trapped underground. What will you do? Well, if I were you, I would have thrown in the towel by now. But you didn't get this far by giving up, did you? That's right. You have something called determination. So as long as you hold on, so as long as you do what's in your heart, I believe you can do the right thing. Alright, we're all counting on you, kid. Good luck. Wait a second. That look on your face while I was talking. You've already heard my spiel, haven't you? I suspected something like this. You're always acting like you know what's going to happen. Like you've seen it all before. So, I have a request for you. I kind of have a secret code word that only I know. So I know if someone tells it to me, they'll have to be a time traveler. Crazy, right? Anyway, here it is. Whisper, whisper. I'm counting on you to come back here and tell me that. See you later. So you finally made it. Huh? Do you have something to say to me? What? A code word? Can you speak up a little louder? Did you just say I'm a stupid doo-doo butt? Wow, I can't believe you would say that. Not only is that completely infantile, but it's also my secret code word. That, however, isn't good enough. What you need is the secret code word. It's only for people that know the secret code word. Anyway, here it is. Wimpspur. Wimpspur. I'm counting on you to come back here and tell me that. See you later. So you finally made it. Huh? Do you have something to say to me? What? A code word? Can you speak a little louder? Did you just say I'm the legendary Fart Master? Wow. That's, really childish. Why would you think that was a secret code word? Whoever told you that is a dirty liar. I don't have a secret code word. However, I do have a secret triple secret code word, which you just said. So I guess you're qualified. Here's the key to my room. It's time you learned the truth. When you looked, the key was already on your keychain. You unlock the door and enter. Hey, Sans, have you seen my... Oh, hello, you aren't Sans. Wait a second. Why were you using a treadmill in the dark? Is Sans pranking you across time and space? I hate it when he does that. How immature can you get? Also, have you seen my action figures? Wait, I know where to look! In my collection, nehehe! Sometimes I'm a genius, all the time. It's a treadmill. There's a message attached. The truth is that you got owned, nerd. It appears to be a self-sustained tornado made of trash. Do you see why I hate Sans now? Do you see what he did? Like... He just destroyed me. It's a worn mattress. The sheets are bunched up in a weird creasy ball. It's an uncovered pillow. Freak. It's a thank you letter. It's addressed to Santa. Oh. It's Sans' dirty sock pile. Scandalous? Inside the drawer is a silver key. You put it on your keychain. You unlocked the door and entered. There's a photo album inside the drawer. There are photos of Sans with a lot of people you don't recognize. He looks happy. You look in the drawer. There's some kind of badge. Blueprints. You can't read the symbols they're written in. Or maybe it's just the handwriting. Looks like they relate to some kind of strange machine. There's a strange machine behind the curtain. It seems to be broken.
This room is the only thing left unanswered in Undertale about its main cast of characters. Who are these people in Sans' photo album? Why does Sans have this badge? What is this strange machine? Well, there's one last secret, one last piece of this puzzle that I believe could point us in the right direction to answer all of these questions. At the beginning of every run in Undertale, you are assigned a random fun value from 1 to 100. If you get fun value 80 to 89, you will get to meet a special NPC in Waterfall named Clamgirl, who tells you about a girl named Susie, who is apparently the same age as the human. Intriguing. However, that's not actually the important part. You see, if you've encountered Clamgirl, something will change in Sans' secret room. Inside the first drawer, which contains the photo album, you'll suddenly notice that a card is now sticking out. The card has a poorly drawn picture of 3 smiling people. Written on it, "Don't forget."
When the light is running low and the shadows start to grow and the places that you know seem like fantasy, there's a light inside your soul that's still shining in the cold with the truth, the promise in our hearts. Don't forget, I'm with you in the dark.
Sans tried to go back. Sans tried to go back to the world of Deltarune. Sans, somehow, got stranded within an alternate reality. That's why he talks about wanting to go home. That's why he's aware of forces in the time-space continuum that should be beyond his comprehension. That's why he gave up. It may even be possible that the real reason, the reason Sans made that promise to Toriel all this time, was because she reminded him of the Toriel he became friends with in Deltarune. I want to take a moment to emphasize that. Sans being from Deltarune gives more narrative context to a game that was made 3 years before we even knew what Deltarune was. Not only does it give us more narrative context for Undertale, it potentially gives us an idea of what could occur within the narrative of Deltarune. I see 2 possibilities for how Sans could have gone from Deltarune to Undertale. Option 1. Something outside of his control forces him outside of his reality, and he ends up stranded in the Undertale universe. Option 2. He goes to the Undertale universe willingly, however he loses his way back to Deltarune. If either of these possibilities are true, then that means at some point in Deltarune, something will likely happen that causes reality itself to begin to collapse, either resulting in Sans getting ripped from his own reality by some kind of tear in space-time, or him using some kind of advanced technology in an attempt to flee from the calamity. By analyzing Sans' character, we now know that something beyond time and space, something that I suspect will go beyond the roaring, will transpire within the Deltarune universe. Furthermore, if Sans' photo album is from Deltarune, but the photos have Sans with people we can't recognize, then that means these photos cannot be of the Lighteners we know, as they look exactly the same as their Undertale counterparts. That means that these photos would have to either be from the town Sans lived at before moving to Hometown, or that Sans got these photos taken with the Darkners. For me personally, this line alone is enough evidence that Sans is connected to Deltarune in some way. However, I'll quickly go through all the other evidence as well. In Snowdin, Sans has you attempt to solve a word search. This word search features the mascot Icy, a character who never appears again in Undertale. This character does show up multiple times, however, in Deltarune. Later in Sans' house, we can see that for some reason Sans' door has a fire effect under it. This same effect can be seen under the doors in Deltarune used for fast travel. Then in Hotland, during Mettaton's quiz show, he will ask you who Alphys has a crush on. There's no real correct answer to this question, so you can really pick whatever you want, and you'll get different funny dialogue for it. If you say you don't know, however, this happens.
Correct. Dr. Alphys has a crush on the unknowable. You see, Alphys believes there is someone out there. Someone watching her. Someone she thinks is cute and interesting. Hello, theoretical person. Dr. Alphys likes you. Too bad you are not real. Derisive laugh track. Hey, I've done research about this. There are alternate universes out there. Someday, maybe, I could meet them. You know, I think she might be onto something. You said the exact same thing about Mew Mew Kissy Cutie. But I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. Person, if you're out there, how about giving us a sign right now? It's me. That settles that, doesn't it?
Now, of course, this is presented as a joke because Alphys just wants to meet her favorite anime character. However, after going over the connection between Sans and Alphys, it's possible that the reason she started looking into alternate universes in the first place was because she was trying to help Sans get back home. Finally, during the Azrael fight, when you save Sans and Papyrus, if you waste a turn by sparing, you can see the dialogue, "You'll never see him again." This tells us that Sans doesn't just want to return to a location, but to a group of people. Papyrus also noticeably goes completely silent when Sans says this. Speaking of Papyrus, let's talk about what convinced me to go ahead and make this video in the first place. The Summer 2023 newsletter. In the newsletter, a Q&A was held for none other than the Great Papyrus. At the very end of this Q&A, Papyrus is asked what his life was like before Snowdin. I would like to specifically point out that his response to this question is peculiar. First, he literally just repeats the question, almost as if he himself is unsure about it for some reason. Then he seems to actually begin to recall it, but the first thing that comes to his mind is that there is green grass. This is odd for two reasons. First of all, if someone asked you what your life was like before you moved somewhere, would the first thing you describe be the grass instead of maybe what your house was like, or maybe the community that resided there? It almost seems like Papyrus himself is struggling to recall what his life was like before Snowdin. We can see more evidence of this in the True Pacifist ending. Papyrus doesn't know what the sun looks like, however, Sans does. I believe that somehow Papyrus's memory has been damaged. This would explain why Papyrus seems so confused when asked this question. Now back to what Papyrus was saying about touching grass. There are a few other ideas I've seen people bring up regarding what Papyrus could be talking about. First of all, this could just be a reference to the Kickstarter video where Sans and Papyrus reside on a patch of green grass. I personally, however, don't think that Toby would end the Q&A with this if it wasn't meant to be taken seriously. Sans even goes out of his way to shut down the question, so it must be more important than a simple reference. The second thing I've seen people say is that this could be referring to the tall grass in Waterfall. The idea goes out the window, however, after looking at this single phone call.
Waterfall. I barely know anything about it, but I'll do my best to inform you. I don't have any facts about this route.
It seems unlikely that the two brothers ever reside in Waterfall if Papyrus seems so unsure about the area. Even if we can't be sure that Papyrus is referring to Deltarune, however, that still doesn't get rid of all the other evidence I've gone over. With all that out of the way, I now want to take one last look at Sans' character. Bear with me here, I'm about to pull a bit of a Jaru. For just a moment, let's try and put ourselves in Sans' slippers. You're living a relatively normal life. You've got a brother you care about more than anything, and you've made good friends with pretty much everyone in your town. You're having a pretty good time. Then one day, you meet a human named Chris. You recognize them as the kid of that woman who enjoys passing jokes with you, but strangely, they seem to recognize you too. That was kinda odd, but it's no big deal. You make friends and move on with your day. However, you eventually learn about the fountains, a threat to everything you've ever cared about, and you discover Chris is right square in the middle of it. You learn about the heroes of legend, the Roaring, and how Chris has been fighting their hardest to prevent it all this time. You get to know Chris more. They're powerful, competent, and even a little aloof like yourself. However, the one thing that truly sets them apart from anyone you've ever met is that no matter what, they keep going. Even when all the odds seem stacked against them, their heart shines within the dark. Chris is someone you've gained a lot of respect for, and yet, for some reason, something about them always felt off. Unfortunately, you couldn't see it until it was already too late. You're stranded. You managed to escape the calamity that doomed your universe, but only you and your brother made it out. You could at least take some solace in that. However, your brother didn't make it out unscathed. He could no longer recall where he came from, what your life was like before this world where no light can reach you. You alone carry the memories of your lost world. You decide to try and make the most of your situation. You go around gathering information. You've learned a thing or two about how to handle situations like this. Unfortunately, however, you discover that you ended up in a terrible reality where everyone you know and love has been trapped underground and they're all hell-bent on eradicating humanity. You need to get home. You eventually learn that the Alphys of this reality is a royal scientist. You honestly weren't that close with the Alphys from your reality, but you figure if they're anything alike, then you probably don't have much to worry about. You reach out to her and explain your situation. All things considered, it's surprisingly easy to convince her that you've traveled from an alternate universe, and she seems somewhat concerningly captivated by your story. She agrees to help, and you both get to work on finding a way home. There's just one problem. You never do find a way home. Day by day, it slowly begins to set in that you'll never get home. You'll never see them again. You give up. You're done. Time to throw in the towel. But then, something happens. Your brother has noticed that you've been acting off. That you've been a little too lazy. Lazy? Yeah, that's rich. You were just working your butt off trying to find a way home. I already tried doing something, but it was all pointless. Why even try? Your brother answers you. He tells you something you'll never forget. As long as you hold on, as long as you do what's in your heart, I believe you can do the right thing. Even if you don't want to admit it, there's still one thing you care about. Welp, it was worth a shot. Guess you like doing things the hard way, huh? Sounds strange, but before all this, I was secretly hoping we could be friends. I always thought the Anomaly was doing this because they were unhappy, and when they got what they wanted, they would stop all this. And maybe all they needed was, I don't know, some good food, some bad laughs, some nice friends. But that's ridiculous, right? Yeah, you're the type of person who won't ever be happy. You'll keep consuming timelines over and over until, well, hey, take it from me, kid. Someday, you gotta learn when to quit. And that day's today. Cause, you see, all this fighting is really tiring me out. And if you keep pushing me, then I'll be forced to use my special attack. Yeah, my special attacks sound familiar? Well, get ready, cause after next move I'm gonna use it. So, if you don't want to see it, now would be a good time to die. Well, here goes nothing. Are you ready? Survive this and I'll show you my special attack. Alright, that's it. It's time for my special attack. Are you ready? Here goes nothing. Yep, that's right. It's literally nothing. And it's not gonna be anything either. You get it. I know I can't beat you. One of your turns, you're just gonna kill me. So, I've decided it's not gonna be your turn ever. I'm just gonna keep having my turn until you give up, even if it means we have to stand here until the end of time. Capiche? You'll get bored here. If you haven't gotten bored already, I mean. And then you'll finally quit. I know your type. You're, very determined, aren't you? You'll never give up even if there's, absolutely no benefit to persevering whatsoever. If I can't make that clear, no matter what, you'll just keep going. Not out of any desire for good or evil, but just because you think you can, and because you can, you have to. But now you've reached the end. There is nothing left for you now. So, in my personal opinion, the most determined thing you can do here is to, completely give up. And, do literally anything else. Did you really think you'd be able... So, guess that's it, huh? Just don't say I didn't warn you. Welp, I'm going to Grillby's. Papyrus, do you want anything? For now, that's all there is that I can determine about Sans' story. In the end, his life was taken by the very same type of entity that took everything else from him in the first place. But in his final moments, he still held on to the one thing he truly had left from his previous life.